good afternoon, or whenever you're watching this. I'm Benjamin Angwin, and what is a nation? We, as Western civilization, really have to answer this question, or our civilization is going to cease, and it's not going to be a comedy. Since World War II, we've actually tried to suppress the essence of being human, which is the tribal nation. If you go back to Assyria, they're writing about different nations that existed before them. And those nations, Akkad, they're writing about nations, peoples, tribal groups that existed before them. And yet, however, after World War II, we've called this instinct evil, essentially, saying anyone who evokes the spirit of patriotism is essentially reviving Adolf Hitler from the dead. It's ridiculous if you think about it. And since 1989, it's gotten even worse, as if our politicians believe that that era, since 1989, is the literal end of human evolution, that there's nothing ever more, and that the existence of different groups is itself some kind of sin that must be got rid of. Now, I don't have a script in this video. It's 36 degrees in Wales, which in Fahrenheit is around 95 degrees, which in Wales and the architecture means, oh, they don't know how to build houses for heat here. Okay. But our civilization's about to heat up a lot hotter. Conflict. And so I want to talk about this, and you may have noticed my channel is shifting. No script here. Just a couple bullet points in my mind. Starting with Wales and the UK, then I'm going to shift to Germany, Israel, and the United States. All four of these lands mean something to me, either through ethnicity, religion, or home. And they're expressing nationalism or perceiving it in very different ways. And in very different ways, they're each part of Western civilization, though Israel is a different case. Now, a nation, what is it? That's the core of this video. I'm in Wales. I believe in this nation. I love it. And yet you may have noticed in my videos, for those of you who watch it, for those of you who don't, I'll explain, that Plaid Cymru and the Welsh nationalists have moved away from what nationalism itself is. And that means they've tapped into this international third worldism solidarity. They've joined flags, essentially, which are symbols, metaphors for our ideologies and our views of the world. So they hold up flags of Cuba, Hamas, the Palestine flag stuff, various Latin American dictatorships, essentially. Though Latin America is changing, thankfully, it's shifting to the right, but they hold up flags like Venezuela and Colombia and these historical far left stuff that it's anti-nationalist. And for the longest time, this didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand, why are they siding these Celtic nationalists against nationalism? They're holding up metaphors, flags, for beliefs that want this kind of global community idea, which is as far removed from nationalism as you can get. And that was another question. There's nothing wrong with being left. But why are they going so far to the left that they're attacking, or rather joining with those who are attacking the existence of the nation state itself as an institution? And it struck me that it took me a while. It struck me that they're not seeking Welsh independence for the sake of the self-governance of their tribe, of their kinfolk group, which is what a nation is. But they're seeking an ideological narrative, a hightail that seeks to include everything on the planet, which is a disastrous mistake, because if you go through history, every time that's been tried, it leads to different tribal groups breaking apart empires and an almost endless procession of wars, sometimes lasting 2 or 3 centuries. This happened with the Assyrian Empire, the Mitanni and the Babylonians. Mitanni toward the north, present day, I believe, Turkey, going into Iran, and the Babylonians, the southern part of Iraq. These 2 tribal ethnic groups were revolting against Assyria, which had ruled over them. And this was allowed because Assyria sought a pluralistic utopian empire which would cover the earth and get rid of nations. Their belief of nations got rid of it, and I know I'm jumping ship from Wales, so I'll get back to Wales. What the Welsh nationalists and Scottish nationalists are doing is akin to what the Assyrian Empire did. They want to erase nations, so they're juxtaposing the independence of Wales with a world that's without nations. And it's very foolish, because look next door to England. I mean, something like 72% or something of England is ethnically English now. Now, there's nothing wrong with a minority in England, absolutely not. Nothing wrong with that. But what is England? We in Wales aren't suffering that same level of demographic change, but it is coming. When I drive through the streets here, the population is changing more quickly than at any time since the Roman Empire, at least in Wales, that it's changing. And the ruling class in Britain seems to deny that this is an issue, and yet populism keeps bubbling up. I should have mentioned the 2016 Brexit referendum, which I was opposed to leaving the European Union because I misunderstood the issue. I like Europe. I want a kind of union, a kind of European confederation. If it's nationalistic, if it believes that European peoples should be majorities in their own ethnic homelands, just like any other group on the planet, but it doesn't. More importantly than any ethnic talk is the political class called their own people bigots and racist and fascist, even Nazis, for expressing a view that was nationalistic. The cultural elite in Britain, especially in the London perimeter, within the London perimeter, see evoking patriotism as something that belongs in the past, as if humans are no longer going to express themselves in terms of nation states. Keir Starmer, who's resigning because he doesn't get that, and the population hates him. They hate him because he prefers international organizations over his own nation's people, even. He's resigning because he doesn't get what a nation is. And maybe he does and hates it. I don't know. I don't claim to understand the tops of the Labour Party. But if you go back in the Labour Party to the 1960s and 70s, they were pro-isolation, tariffs to keep out foreign workers to help the indigenous people, their own nation. So what happened? There's been a complete reversal in what Labour believes in terms of the nation state. Well, I think the key to that lay in Germany. 1945, Germany was split into two. And after the unification of Germany, after the fall of the wall in 1989, it was really awkward. What unified Germany was a sense of being part of the same nation. And the political class in Germany couldn't say that. Nationalism. People in Germany today are still accused of being Nazis merely for expressing what 99.9% of human history have said, which is a basic in-group bias is healthy, good, and even sacred to human flourishing, happiness, family life, and a stable communal existence. But the ideology that took hold in Germany in the late 20th century is what I call anti-nationalism, which is not postmodernism, which believes that there's no objective truth, but it is a spring shoot, a budding off of that idea. It takes that idea, the postmodernists of like the French Foucault and Derrida, who basically have turned literature into something that's unbearable because they can't bear the idea that literature should mean concrete things and things reflecting also virtue, heroism, values related to the family and the clan and the nation, and the beauty coming from God. They cannot bear that because these things they have objective truths in them, time-tested truths. And getting back to Germany, what they have been unable to do, because you have the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, and in France, the Rassemblement National, coming up through this vacuum that these European anti-nationalists created, in which they deny the very truths that make us human, is that not all groups are the same. And people who say that get accused of, you're saying we're not equal. No. Equality and sameness are not the same thing. Right? Humans have value to life. All nations do. But that doesn't mean that all nations are the same or that they're even compatible, living within the same state. Some nations break apart. Hundreds, maybe thousands of nations or states have broken apart over the history of mankind because they have nations within them that simply cannot coexist under the same state. The Austrian-Hungarian Empire. You could argue that was the case with the Roman Empire. You could argue we're seeing that in Iraq now. If Turkey had not done its horrible evil to the Armenians and the Kurds and the Greeks, that would be happening in Turkey today. You see it in China with Uyghurs and Han. They can't coexist. And if you want a video on what the Uyghurs did in the medieval times, that left a scar upon the Chinese psyche, that they cannot bear it, let me know if you want that video. But the Germans, they developed this knee-jerk response to anything that suggests that different groups are different groups. You can't even mention that nations are not a piece of paper. It's not a passport. And I think one of two things could happen in Germany. One, they could realize that there is an ethnic component to being a nation, and that's not the resurrection of Adolf Hitler, and they could move on past this post-war trauma and frankly become the heroes of the world by saving Europe from its own guilt. Or, Jolani of Syria, the jihadi, who refused something like 850,000 Syrians to be moved back, he could get what he wants, which is planting a nation within Germany to basically break it apart from within and create Islamic enclaves, which will cause other parts of Germany to become more Christian, because they will finally understand what a nation is. And we're getting to what a nation is. It's not just the people, though it is that. It's not just the kinfolk, the groups of families, though it is that. What do you believe? And this drives the left insane, because they cannot stand basic human truths, and that is that every society in human history which has lasted any amount of time whatsoever has had a religious faith, or at least a kind of spiritual ideology, which is what Marxism is, in my opinion. And that's what it's becoming in North Korea, which has formed a deification worship cult out of the Jong-uns, the dynasty of crazy haircut weirdos. But Germany, I hope they choose the right road. And getting to God, because that's an integral part of what a nation is. The Jewish people in Israel have not made the same mistake that Germany and Britain have. Britain is deeply atheist, and by that also, it's no coincidence that Wales, Scotland, and Ireland, as they've become more anti-Israel, as they've become more warped in their progressive, anti-nationalist, global solidarity ideology, they've become less religious. Because they're becoming unanchored from who they actually are. If there's no Christianity in your culture that shapes your culture still, you're not Irish. You're something else. You've abandoned your ancestors for some other higher meta-narrative. And that meta-narrative has become that all nations are the same. That you just blend everything together, and that creates utopia. It doesn't, and Israel understands that. They also understand that God, whether you believe in it or not, you can celebrate the Jewish holidays, and that's fine, and just, have a good time with your family. But there's a common story, a thread that runs through it. And Israel has taken that belief in God, that anchor, as a core part of its nationalism. And that's made it strong in a way that Northwest Europeans are not strong. And that worries me, actually. Not for Israel. I'm more worried about Britain and Germany than I am about Israel. Israel has 20% of their population, almost, I think 19% are Arab, or rather Muslim. How do they do it? Because they believe in their country. They don't spread lies of guilt. They don't whine about oppressor-oppressed victimhood. They celebrate their heroes. They praise their own past. They send their children to the army to be patriotic and serve their country with happiness. And they serve, or at least believe, or if not, They acknowledge God is part of the nation. They don't feel sin when they see their national flag, as many in Britain and Germany do. Even though Britain, that's more complicated. Britain is not a nation, I call it a confederation of nations, which is more what I wish it was, but it's an England-dominated confederation thing. And that creates tension, by the way, with nationalism, because the English are unable to express their own nationalism without many in Wales going crazy where I am, and vice versa, by the way. We in Wales should be able to be immensely proud of our language. And going back to what a nation is, nations have a specific language or languages. Israel knows what its language is. Hebrew came back after 1900 years to be the dominant language of their own country again. That's remarkable. And that language that's part of the problem with the West, is we're so dominated by English that we can't see that, especially Anglo countries, that we are a particular people. And that leads me on to America. I've quoted J.D. Vance in other videos. America is a particular people, forged out of the revolutionary era of the late 18th century. That is an ethnogenesis. I know that's difficult for many Americans to understand, but if you remove the founding group, that ethnic group, as the majority, or at least the most influential group, then it's not America anymore, because you've replaced the people and it becomes something else. I saw someone on social media, a Welsh nationalist, somewhere arguing with an English nationalist. And I actually sided with the English nationalist, not because I want Wales to be part of England, I don't, but because of what specifically was said. The English nationalist said, well, if the Welsh people are replaced by another group, what's the point? And the Welsh nationalist said, I would rather have us be speaking Welsh and be completely different people, like no relation to us and my ancestors, than to not speak Welsh and be the same people. And I was like, whoa. I agree with the English nationalist on that specific point. What's the point of saving the Welsh language if your people are not alive? They're not, whoever's going to speak that they're not going to value your culture. They're going to shift it into their culture through your language. A nation is a people with a language, yes, but the people comes before the language, and a God, and a land. There's these four things there, and they fuse into being the center of the village. Like, there's a church up that way. It's almost always empty. It's sad, because there's no life in the village. And that's why Western nations are dying, because you have whole neighborhoods where no one goes to church. Well, if you don't go to church or synagogue or a temple, what unites you, what holds you together as a people? Because then you're saying that anyone who believes in anything can join, and you're not a nation anymore. And that leads to the anarchy that the Assyrian Empire witnessed at its end in the 7th century BCE, which was a horrible century, by the way. Horrific. And I wonder if we're going to see that smoldering landscape that the Assyrians saw after the fall of their own people, because they didn't want to differentiate between different groups and call themselves a distinct nation. Instead, they chose to include everyone in their nation, and it destroyed the Assyrian Empire. I know this was a bit of a ramble, but the World Cup's on. Oh, speaking of the World Cup, one thing I love about it is it's an expression of nationalism. I hope you get to support your nation. But if not, you automatically, you see it so much. You have people who, they automatically latch on to nations which they identify with, the flags, and other nations they don't. Because instinctively, they have an identity connected to their nation and their belief system. And that's good. It brings joy. It brings unity. Now people say this brings war and division and hatred. No. It's the absence of nations that do that. The end of the 30 Years' War, it was nationalism that finally stopped the killing. It was nationalism that stopped the Nazis. It was nationalism that finally stopped the expansion of the Roman Empire. And yet it was nationalism within the Roman Empire that brought us some of the greatest eloquence in the history of the human race. Let me know if you liked that video. It's hot, I'm tired, and I'm gonna go lay down and watch the World Cup.